So here's my argument about Robert Pattinson being better than Christian Bale and a lot of the other Batmans. For one thing, he was in the Bat costume just like Adam West, for a very long time. For most of the movie, I'd say 90% of the movie, he's behind a mask. All of his emotions, everything that he would have to communicate behavior-wise would have to be behind this, costume. And he did a lot of things that other Batmans didn't do. Like, for example, there was a lot of human behavior going on. There was reactions. The other turn down the Fort Worth ISD building, right over this way. There was a lot of reactions to it, to him falling, and then there'd be a reaction to it. He wasn't a super Batman. Remember, what Robert Pattinson found that a lot of the other Batmans didn't find was that Batman's just a man, right? So Christian Bale, he did fall down and stuff and would just keep on plowing through because Christian Bale's a psycho. He'd do it anyway, That was Christian Bale's real response, Well, Christian Bale's a little weird. It was like, well, the thing about Christian Bale is he did lower the voice, down here with this voice, I'm Batman, this voice like this. Which I even thought back in the day was a little corny, maybe. Even though I was like blown away by Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight, but Robert Pattinson, he would fall down and it'd be like a grunt, and it's like, oh, Batman's hurt for a minute. What's going on? You were concerned. Even though Adam West would fall down and kind of be very suave about it in that ridiculous outfit that they gave him for the television. It's like a leotard. All the kids they look like those super jammies, the super jammies, whatever. The Wonderoos, yeah. It looked like this is back in the day. I'm talking about Adam West, sorry. I'm saying Adam the West, but Adam West, Adam West Batman. Sure, Robin, we'll get on that. Very logical. Like a Vulcan Batman, almost. Yes, we will, Robin. We'll find a way to do it. But like, they were wearing like underoos or something. It was horrible. But nobody cared back in the day. These guys were womanizers. Adam West and that other guy, they would show up in town. Every single wife would leave their husbands and go and do everything they could in their power to try to sleep with these men because their kids literally worshipped Batman. Like they had to go back and retrain them in Bible school and everything. The kids back then, they would bow down to Batman and Robin. It was out of control. This is true. And the wives would leave their husbands just to touch a Batman so that they could say to the kids, I touched Batman, it's okay now, But, Robert Pattinson did not go that way. He was seductive, he's like a model. He's like a GQ model. He's like a Brad Pitt kind of thing for the English, people that love him. He's also the Twilight vampire. My wife chose to have the music of Twilight playing during our wedding, during the time when she walks down the aisle. So, I have to be respectful of Robert Pattinson. We were listening to the Twilight song, that dun, 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 dun. We were listening to that during the wedding. This is a woman that's probably more religious or a devout Baptist that went to DBU, Dallas Baptist University, and devoted her entire life to Jesus Christ, where I'm not even in the picture anymore. But yeah, I still appreciate his Batman because it seemed like there was a human person behind the mask that this guy feared, that he was afraid at times and would I talked about this before on another vlog, and would fall down and, he was injured and then he would, get back up and there was some fear going on. You don't see that in any of the Batmans, really. Batman's usually played like a superhero. I'm going the wrong way. He wasn't a klutz, but he did fall down, and there was some things that I was like, oh, this is weird. And that may be Matt Reeves, too, behind it, too, the direction. But here's one thing I just want to launch out there about Batman in the series. Why not even go more human? You could go even more real with the Batman thing, he's techie. The thing about Batman is he's rich. He lives in a bat cave. It's a little dusty. Oh, another thing too, on The Batman with Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves, I love their choice of the bat cave. I thought that was really, really cool. Their choice was awesome. It was like a subway extension that opened up and all this weird stuff. It was kind of cool. Anyway, I don't want to go on too long about the Batman. You know, it is an interesting, also I like the title, The Batman. Another thing about Matt Reeves' angle on Batman was his separation with the law. The cops didn't like him. There's even a scene where they try to kill him, which I thought was revolutionary. They were shooting at him and he was running off, and they were saying, yeah, you broke the law here, you assaulted the chief and all this stuff. And the chief was like, here's the keys, man, you better run. You know, they all ran after him. It was like Gangs of New York in one moment. And he jumps off, you know, the building. Oh yeah, it was very realistic too. I like that too. Because in my mind, what I was thinking when I saw The Batman was this stuff really happens. People do parquet. They do jump off roofs on those gliding things where they can glide. They have video of it all over the place. People will actually glide off a roof in these little outfits where they're flying around like stuntmen. It's not safe. And he wasn't a safe Batman because whenever he goes underneath the bridge after he's sitting there gliding, and it was a realistic glider device that was on his body, where in, you know, Christopher Nolan's, the cape is very elongated. It looks like it possibly could fly. He does fly in it. He more like glides. Where in other Batmans, it's just a ridiculous kind of thing, you know. It's like I'm trying to think. I have to go back and watch some of the Tim Burton stuff. But meaning they actually probably could have pulled off that stunt without even any CGI, which I'm sure they had CGI. But I don't know, they may not have. I'm sure they did for that sequence because it could kill the stuntman for sure. But yeah, there is footage all over the place where people are gliding around in these they're like uniforms that have wings in a way, and they can fly. They can really fly, but they don't. It's hard to do. You know, you have to have the right equipment, and they'll glide on the air just like a glider. People can actually do it though. It's been done. People have fallen out of airplanes and have glided to safety because they use their body just like a bat does, or a squirrel, or flying squirrel. People can actually do this stuff, and there's stuff on YouTube where people have been witnesses of falling from 20,000 feet in the air. They hit a cornfield, but they didn't just fall, you know, like in a ball, like a cannonball. They fell gliding, you know, gliding around until they landed very unsafely in a cornfield. This guy smashed like half his body, broke his collarbone, his ribs, all his legs, but, you know, broke the side of his face, all this stuff. And he survived it. And in the interview, he doesn't look that bad, but he was affected by it his entire life. And it was like from 20,000 feet in the air and everything. But anyway, I don't know if they pulled off that stunt. I would like to know, though. We're going under a can opener, 13 feet, 4 inches. But they may have pulled off some of that stunt for real. So you're seeing kind of a real Batman, you know, in The Batman. You're seeing a more real Batman. That's what I liked about it. And I'm sure a lot of other actors feel the same. Not dissing Christian Bale. I think Christian Bale is by far one of our most talented actors. Not always the best with crew, but very talented. Meaning, he sometimes yells at the lighting guys and stuff like that. When on Terminator Salvation, but Jesus love that movie, man. That movie was under the gun to be a good movie. And he was just like, you sound professional. He didn't talk like that, but you know, you sound professional. Get what's going on? You'll never work in this town again. This is absolutely stupid, Matt. Whatever the guy's name was. You just come over here when I'm in the middle of my space. You know, that went on with Christian Bale. But it just shows Christian Bale takes it serious. But you don't ever want to yell at crew as an actor. You don't ever want to do that. You don't ever want to come off as a butthole. It comes back on you. I don't know if I really ever have. I usually argue with sometimes the other actors One time we got in a fight over a handkerchief. Me and this guy, he's passed away, Brian Beck, yeah. We got in a fight over a handkerchief. It was a big deal. The director had to write a letter and all this stuff. And we were fighting over a handkerchief on set, on stage during the live. It was a stage show. And then we got in a fight, of course, in the dressing room. But it wasn't a physical fight, but it almost turned into one. Charlie Baker was there he was Skinny Pete in Breaking Bad. He was there. He was on stage too. He was one of the characters and Waiting for Godot. But I was just saying, like, everyone gets emotional. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. This is a cool little area. Well, another thing about Matt Reeves is his sequencing is very nice. I like the way Gotham looked. It had kind of a gothic kind of feel, where Christopher Nolan, it looked like a normal city. You know, it just looked like any city. I don't even know if Gotham is even mentioned. I have to go back and watch the Christopher Nolan stuff. It's very different. Christopher Nolan is like very hyper real. You know, it's almost like you're just watching these people that are real people. Where, you know, Matt Reeves went back and brought Batman comic strip character revealing it. He brought it, not what Tim Burton did. No, he was more what Christopher Nolan did. But he brought it back where I could feel that this was a comic strip, even though they brought in the David Fincher style 7 serial killer thing and I thought it was almost too much for the Riddler, which is very real performance by Paul Dano, which I thought was probably going to be an underrated performance, meaning people aren't going to really say a whole lot about it, because there was times where it was very toned down, and it was like almost like a normal person, and then all this psycho-ness would come out, which I thought Paul Dano was it. Here's what I want to say about Paul Dano, about that casting choice. I thought it was a good casting choice. I thought they might have got more eccentric kind of sicko-ness from the guy in Salt Lake City Punk, also in Twin Peaks Return, Matthew Lillard. Yeah, Matthew Lillard. I thought if they used Matthew Lillard, which he'd been too old probably, because they wanted to go with a younger Riddler, they would have got someone that was very eccentric, because Matthew Lillard is very eccentric, just like Jim Carrey is. But Paul Dano can go that direction, and he showed that with the Riddler. So he held his own. And I kind of liked it. I kind of liked the fact that he was almost like a normal Joe. Then he would go into this, this start yelling and screaming kind of Riddler kind of thing. Actually, they did a lot of mask work. They must have did a workshop with masks, they were all going to meet Saturday, from 4 a.m. to, 9 a.m. or something, working on masks. I don't know if they did that. I don't know if the director did that, but I think they may have, because they were behind mask. Batman is kind of commedia dell'arte with mask and everything. It kind of is. Nolan took what Tim Burton brought and just completely 180 degrees. Matt Reeves brought in a little more comic strip kind of thing, and he didn't steal from Christopher Nolan's world that he created, because that would have been too obvious. But there was classical music, just like in all of them. There's a connection to all the Batmans, from Tim Burton to Christopher Nolan to Matt Reeves. It's a sensitive launch of a movie, because there's diehard Batman fans. I don't know a whole lot about Bill Finger. I know Bill Finger was behind Batman, and then there's the guy Kane, okay? I know that they're behind it, and I know there's a comic strip, a whole comic strip world. There's even a digital graphic novel world, okay? There's an online world, there's role-playing, there's people that just love Batman, and like I was saying back in the day when it was on television, kids worshipped it. And when Batman would come to town, when Adam West would come to town, watch out, it was bad. Like every single wife was, that had kids would at least want to get his autograph or shake his hand, and then sometimes they would find him in hotel rooms. They'd go running because the husbands would show up, or the fiancés or the boyfriends would show up to fight him for real. This is real. This is real stuff. This has been documented. This is how crazy people go over Batman. So I don't know all the Batman secrets. I know that Christopher Nolan rewrote the background for Batman. So Christopher Nolan just rewrote all of it. He just wrote a whole background for him and then brought it into Batman Begins. And that was all because of his English major mind, you know, the way that he is with English and writing stories and stuff. He became a writer. And so that was all invented by Christopher Nolan, the Batman Begins. But I don't know, like, I'm not a connoisseur. Like, I would not really be able to hold my own at a Comic-Con. I'd only be learning. I'd be like, oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that about Batman. I can't even tell you what the original Batman comic strip looks like. I might have seen it. If you've shown 3 of them to me, I might point to the right one. But in a Comic-Con situation, I would be very quiet and just be listening. I'd love to learn when it comes to Batman. But I do enjoy it. I do like it. If I had to choose as a director, okay, Cole, do you want a Batman assignment or a Superman? I would definitely choose Batman. I'd choose Batman probably over Superman. Although the Superman thing is very legacy. It's very beautiful. I love the difference between Christopher Reeve and Chris Reeves, right? And there's a difference between the black and white and what Christopher Reeve did. Or do I go Christopher Reeves? Okay, I gotta look. So Christopher Reeve, with just the R-E-E-V-E, is the newer Superman, not the most recent, but he's very famous for Superman, and that time traveling movie that was very cool. But yeah, and he also worked with Michael Caine on, I think it was the Death Trap, I think it was called. And he's a great actor, and he had a horse accident and became paraplegic and everything. The Superman thing, I don't even really want to get into it, but that certainly could be the Man of Steel. I think they did a version of that with Kevin Costner. That certainly could be looked at again too. It's more Superman is, they're both DC, but Superman is it's epic. There's kind of a spiritual, religious kind of thing about Superman that's different than Batman. Batman's more grounded. It's about the human, while Superman, I think there's something to do with otherworldly, because he's an alien coming from another, just like Jesus was from another existence. He was from heaven, right? And he came and was born as a child, and it kind of shows that Christian concept of Jesus. It really does. And so Superman can be very emotional for people to watch at times. It can be a kind of an emotional ride, where Batman's very seductive and interesting and entertaining. All right, 54462.9. So the Batman TV series went from 1966 to 69. It went for 3 seasons. It was Adam West and Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar played Catwoman. There was also Eli Wallach, who played Mr. Freeze. And I'll have to look on the Riddler. Riddler was like one of the best, though. Look at this going on right here. Holy cow, it's big time. On a Sunday. This is Rockwood go-karts. Yeah, so, totally. There were some great actors in that TV series. I met Eli Wallach. I didn't get his autograph, though. I should have. He was the original Mr. Freeze during when that was going on in the 60s. It got out of hand. It was really famous. It was just, everyone would watch it all. It was the Wonder Duo. Batman and Robin is what they ended up making a movie, too. Probably in the 70s, I think it was when that movie probably came out. But it was just insane thing. And they would go into town and like they couldn't get into their hotel room. The women would actually try to almost like tackle them, and they'd like drag themselves in. They'd do anything. It was a mess. It was going like right around the time Woodstock was about to getting ready. But the movie too was a ridiculous thing. It was all seen as a comedy, and then it got serious. I'm gonna have to do my research more. The Batman movie was 1966. It came out first, I think. Craziness. Anyway, the movie's crazy too. It's the same people, Adam West and Burt Ward. But anyway, Burt Ward. Okay. Here's information about Burt Ward. Burt Ward. He went to California, I believe, and he had a wife, and then he had a kid. And I don't remember exactly what he was doing. I don't know. Maybe he might have been a stuntman. He definitely, I think he knew something about karate. And they were looking, he had run across, I think, Bruce Lee. I may have the story mixed up, but Bruce Lee told him, because Bruce Lee was doing the Green Hornet. And I think Bruce Lee told him to go to the audition, Burt Ward. I think he was already involved in like karate. And he did, and he got it. And he was able to feed his family after that and keep everything together. It was an important role for that actor to play Robin and Batman Robin, the TV series, which only had 3 seasons. Believe it or not, it was only 3 seasons. Also, just to mention, I think Uma Thurman played Poison Ivy during the Tim Burton kind of series. I don't think Tim Burton directed it, but I have to go and see if he did. But it was when Arnold Schwarzenegger was playing Mr. Freeze, and they had Jim Carrey come in there. I think it was Uma Thurman. One time I said Drew Barrymore one time, and I was like, did I get that right? I'm gonna have to look it up, and it drives me crazy when I get these mixed up. Look at this house right here. My goodness. Some of these houses are from the 20s. Like Lee Harvey Oswald would have seen probably some of these houses. And the rich people would have lived there when he was planning his trip to Dallas. Can't wait to go to that Biden thing. No, I'm just joking. Just joking. It's the one thing you can't joke about. No, Lee Harvey did live in Fort Worth before he went to Dallas. Lee Harvey Oswald. I gotta find this place over here. I'm gonna guess Uma Thurman played Poison Ivy.